He won't let you go, but that doesn't mean he loves you. Now, before you completely internalize that quote, understand that there are some instances that love is at play. But what I want to focus on right now is the fact that one of the worst situations for women to have to deal with is a man who simply won't leave you alone. And not just he won't leave you alone, he's done you wrong. He's hurt you. He's betrayed you. He's undermined your trust. And yet, he won't leave you alone. And it becomes a struggle for so many women. It drains you. It can mentally, emotionally, and spiritually consume you and create all kinds of confusion. And that confusion leads you to wondering, why? What is going on here? Now, I mentioned in the first quote, just because he won't let you go doesn't mean he loves you. But let's explain what could be going on, because there's a lot you need to be mindful of so that you navigate these situations in the best way possible. One of the first reasons why a man lingers even after he hurts you is because he doesn't want to end up being the bad guy. So what do I mean by this? Let's give an example. Let's say there's a man, you meet him, everything seems great. You guys seem to have great chemistry, right? But he essentially doesn't really want a relationship. And let's say in this scenario, you guys kind of discussed it, but it was very vague. So there was no concrete understanding of what we have going on here. But you, in hoping that this can turn into more, decided to push forward. Now, as time goes on, let's say you see him out with another woman. And the whole time you thought you guys were exclusively dating. And this hurt you to the core, all right? And let's take it a step further. After you initially confront him about it, he's like, well, listen, I never said we're in a relationship. I never said this was a commitment. Why are you stressing me? Why are you coming down on me? So now you're hurt and you want to cut this man off. But here's the tricky part. He does care. Now, please don't confuse does care with being in love, with genuinely wanting to be with you, or any of that. Someone cannot see you in that light, but still care about your feelings, all right? Still not have a desire to hurt you. There's a lot of good men who may not be willing to give you what you want and even what you deserve from a man. But it doesn't, and I say good because they're not men who have intentions to maliciously hurt you. But through their actions, it still can happen, through scenarios like this. So because of this care, that guilt can now reel him back in an attempt to smooth things over with you. So now he doesn't want to let go. He doesn't want to go away because he wants to make sure, one, there's the trap of, in an attempt to make you feel less devalued, because he may like you, he may view you as a good woman, he just doesn't see you as the woman he wants to be with. And in this attempt to make you feel better, he tries to pour into you a little bit. He toes the line of maybe showing more attention. Maybe he comes back in the scenario I gave and says, I'm sorry, we hadn't talked about it, but let's try again or something like that. And he's not really fully invested. He's just invested to the point of trying to reach the I'm no longer the bad guy status. All right? So guilt can drive men to linger on. And you have to be mindful of this because, again, it's important to understand going back to that example, though he may try to reconnect and linger to smooth things out and avoid looking like the bad guy, he's still, in most cases, unlikely to give you what you're looking for anyway. So, meaning, that guy may come back, he may want to go out more, he may call you more, he may show you more attention for the next couple of weeks, but he's still not committing to you. He's still not saying we're exclusively dating. Now, here's the unfortunate part. Sometimes it goes that far. I think it's important, I've mentioned it in a previous video, women have to understand that a lot of men struggle with fully rejecting a woman. A lot of men struggle with telling a woman no who is persistent on her end with trying to make things happen. So what will happen is, if you are more willing to let things fall to the wayside, there's a greater chance that he'll just flow with that. But if you show any anguish, if you make effort now because you're trying to seek validation, or you want to feel like I got something out of this, that only digs your hole even deeper. And he ends up going with that, to the point where, yes, there are men who have married women out of guilt, who the only reason why they say, I've said this before, there was a man I met in DC, professional guy, and he told me the only reason why he married his wife is because he was afraid to tell her no. She essentially propositioned him with, listen, we got to get married. We've been together long enough. He didn't know how to fight against that, so to speak. And then they end up in a miserable marriage. They eventually got divorced, but it took a lot before they even got to that point. So all this to say, again, the fear of being the bad guy can play into the man lingering on. And I feel it's hitting my spirit, so I feel the need to say this. When this man does this, because I know some of you are listening to this and saying, this is so messed up, right? This is ridiculous, how immature of these men. Why would they do this? And I'm not saying it isn't immature. What I am going to say to you is, you do have to understand that he's not doing this to hurt you more. He's doing this to save himself from the idea of, I did this woman wrong. All right? And out of this attempt to, quote unquote, protect himself, and I'm not saying this to validate it, to make it excusable. I'm explaining it so that you don't internalize it as, well, dang, if that, just leave me alone. Why make things worse? Because he's thinking in his head, he's making things better. He's giving you a little something to feel better about, not feel as rejected. He allows himself to possibly reach no longer bad guy status, and he thinks everybody wins, but not realizing, no, all you're doing is making things worse, because now, in a lot of cases, the woman's feelings gets more invested, she becomes more attached, and it's still gonna lead to the same end result, him not giving her what she wants, or in extreme examples, an unfulfilling, unhappy, unsuccessful marriage. So that's a big one to be mindful of. His fear of guilt and being the bad guy. All right, so let's keep this going. Another reason why men linger after hurting you is because they simply want to still have access to you. Or even more specifically, they still want to be able to enjoy some of the things you provide. So, I think we always assume it's going to be about sex, which a lot of times it is. I'm just going to be real, right? But sometimes there are men who hold on to women even when they're not having sex. There may be a level of emotional fulfillment they're getting from this woman, or emotional validation. So, and I wanted to make the word validation stand out more, because some of you might hear, well, if she's fulfilling him emotionally, why not take it more seriously? Why not pursue something real? Because it's not really fulfillment, it is validation. It is, she's filling his cup, making him feel better about himself, right? But he still doesn't connect with her on a deeper level to where they could take it somewhere. Or it could just be, I enjoy talking to this girl. I don't have much people I talk to, even though it's not going anywhere. I digress. The point here is that because he still wants to have that access, even after he's hurt you, and a lot of times, and I'll dive deeper into this later, a lot of times some men don't fully understand the level of hurt they've caused to you. They don't understand how deeply their actions or their words cut you. So they're a little oblivious, a little ignorant to the fact, to the point where they don't think it's a big deal. Like, why can't we still be friends? Why can't we still, engage with each other? It's not that serious, and they generally believe that. Now, some are just downplaying the situation, all right, because they want what they want. And that's really, at the end of the day, whether they generally don't get it, or they knew it and they're downplaying it, this point still boils down to they still want to hold on to access to you. Now, whether that access is current access, currently benefiting from you, or simply trying to make sure there's options later to return to this situation, all right? He simply wants to be able to get back to getting from you what he used to get from you, plain and simple. And this is also hitting my spirit, and this is gonna sound bad. This might sound bad, but just hear me out. What I think a lot of men have seen, not all men, but a lot of men have noticed in women is that due to where she's at emotionally, her feelings or receptiveness can change very quickly. Meaning, think about situations where man and woman gets into a fight, they're dating each other, and at that moment, the woman says, I ain't dealing with you no more, I'm done, it's over. And there's men who have been through this scenario so many times that in his head it's like, she's just having a moment. Once she gets over it, we'll be back to normal. He knows it's just, if I stick around, if I just play cool, if I don't jump the gun on anything, I'll still have my way back in. Because a lot of women, again, depending on, they go from, I don't want to see him ever again, to, damn, I miss him, all right? And to, I would never let him touch me again, to, she's sleeping with him. And it can happen so fast. And again, very experienced men have seen this, and some play on that, all right? So they linger in the hopes of, even if you're not receptive to him now, even if you're hurt right now, we can get in time, that door will open back up. And I want to make sure I'm in front of it when the door opens. All right, so let's keep this going. Now this one may catch some of y'all by surprise, or you may not care for it, but it is what it is, it's real. So a third reason why men linger after hurting you is because he's still very conflicted. What do I mean by that? I mean that he's not sure what he wants. And let me be very clear when I say he's not sure what he wants. What I mean is this. There are scenarios where the man might recognize that, all right, my rejection of her in a relationship at that time was because I didn't feel like we're a good fit. But damn, she fine. But damn, she does this so good. But dang, I do like her. You see, they start to have this, they start to contemplate all these different things that they may like, and this creates this conflicting feeling of, well, maybe I do want this. Am I sure I want to let this go? And it's kind of this 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out. And so essentially what happens, and this is one of the things that lead to the hurt in the first place, is his struggle to understand what is best, what needs to happen here. All right, what's truly best for both sides, because he may be fighting his desire versus his spirit. All right. And essentially, for those of you who believers, your flesh versus your spirit. Because his desire, his flesh is saying, this woman looks amazing. I enjoy maybe sex or whatever things you guys are engaging in. I don't want to let this go. But then my spirit, something in me is saying, but nah, she's not for you. Or nah, this ain't gonna work. Or you're hearing outside noise. Maybe there's other people saying to him, this isn't what you should be doing. And so now this conflict and confusion can now become inconsistency in his behavior, all right, which leads you to being hurt. It can lead to hesitation in fully committing to you, which leads you to getting hurt. It can lead to lies, all right, which leads you to getting hurt. All of that stems from his inner conflict. Now, again, this is not to say it's okay. This is not to validate it, but it is to help you understand why. Why isn't he simply just letting go and doing what's best? Because he damn sure doesn't know what to do. And that's what happens. And though he should gain wisdom enough to navigate through these situations, a lot of men don't. And a lot of men aren't even in tune with their spirit enough to embrace what's best. So it becomes a battle of what they're logically deducting in their head. They're adding up the pros and cons, or maybe it's, I like her, but I'm not ready to give up other options right now, all right? But I don't want to lose her, so let me try to hold on to her in the best way possible while I'm still out here running in these streets, all right? And so again, it's to explain to you what is happening, not saying you should accept it, not saying it's okay, none of that. But it is what happens, and it definitely contributes to why he simply won't go away. All right, so let's keep this going. Next reason why guys linger after they've hurt you is because he wants to keep tabs on you. But I want to highlight something very specific about this whole keeping tabs on you. So what I've seen in all my years of doing this, even before I became a relationship coach, I've seen so many women mistake jealousy for real feelings. I've seen so many women confuse a man being territorial with real feelings, all right? And it's important that you understand that those two things do not mean he is serious about you. Quick story. I know of a guy, this is a very long time ago, okay? Very long time ago. And it was a circle of friends and we were acquaintances or whatever. And I remember where this guy could literally be dating 5 different women, all right? And he's running, and he's not gonna stop at 5. If he meets number 6 or 7 tomorrow, he's gonna go after 6 or 7, right? But he would go out of his way to make sure that each woman he is dating dates no one else. They are not allowed, and I know using the word allowed, it sounds strong, but that's how he presented it. Like, they were not allowed to entertain anything else, even though this man was out here exploring all his options. And so it was easy for a lot of these women to fall into this fake idea, this false belief that, oh, he must really want me, he must really like me because he doesn't want anyone else to have me. Wrong. Like, I'm sorry, that's absolutely wrong. I don't want to say this is men in general, though I think the argument can be made that men in general can have a level of being territorial, all right? And then there are men who take it to the extreme and men who manage it well. They're mature enough to understand, I don't own this woman. She's free to do what she wants, so on and so forth. But other men get consumed by it. And so going back to the original point of him keeping tabs on you, this man, he hurts you. You would think he would just go away, but he's watching all your stories. He's checking on your behavior. He's asking friends what you're doing. Hell, he might be showing up to spots that you're at, all right? All trying to keep tabs, all trying to see what you're up to, all trying to see if there are other men who have come into the picture. Because there's a good chance he's gonna try to sabotage. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that's what some of these guys are planning to do. But either way, what's important is that you just understand what that means. So here's the thing. To be territorial, to be jealous, means nothing if it is not accompanied by positive, healthy behavior. If it is not accompanied by a man who pours into you and is willing to give you what you need. So what's important is, if this guy is going, and I'm just saying in general right now, forget just the guy who hurts you and won't go away. Let's say you're in a relationship already, all right? And you're dealing with a guy who's very territorial. And I'm not saying in any way that being territorial, I do think there's a balance where, okay, here's the key. A man should be protective, not possessive, all right? So I think there's nothing wrong. It's good that you have a man who looks to protect you, wants to keep you out of harm's way, wants to make sure you're good. But when he's trying to be possessive, essentially control you, that's a problem. That's not healthy. And so in these scenarios where he's being territorial and doesn't want anyone else to have you type of stuff, well, guess what? That comes from a very toxic place. So you've got to not make the mistake of confusing that with real love or allowing that to make you feel special, because in that feeling special, you'll fall into the trap of thinking, well, maybe there is a chance here. Maybe he can come around to being a better guy. And it's like, no, but he's not doing that. He's not doing that. So anyways, to wrap up this point, yes, men will linger after they hurt you simply because they want to keep tabs on you, because many of them can be very jealous and possessive. As well as, let me just throw this one in there too, they're keeping tabs because they're trying to monitor your situation in a way that says, okay, is there a chance for me to step back in? So going back to wanting to have the access and things of that nature, by keeping tabs, I'm allowing myself to see, okay, is she in a relationship yet? Is there still a chance? How's she doing? Because it may just be, all right, how do I get back in there? And let me also say, how do I get back in there isn't always coming from some bad place. It might be a guy who is truly trying to make things work, and he's trying to figure out, how do I bounce back from this issue that hurt her and get back in her good graces? And so, yeah, he's monitoring because he's trying to see what he can do, as well as he's just dwelling on the desire for you and maybe missing you and things of that nature. But again, don't confuse that with the unhealthy, toxic guy who's just being possessive and jealous. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there.
So when a man says, let's go with the flow, when we don't need any titles, anything that's very non-committal or doesn't present a vision for where we're trying to go with this, is a man you should not entertain.